Hey, so before we get into this reviewing the classics episode, I did want to go ahead and say that this will be different from other episodes. Going into the Bronze Age, a lot of these films that don't really have a physically accessible copy to pull footage from in order to, talk about certain moments and that kind of thing. So instead, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about the film's plot very briefly with images, and then just kind of having a general talk about the film and what kind of works with it. I hope that this will, one, be easier for me to edit, but also be easier for you guys who don't want to hear about the Aristocats plot because you've seen the film 100 times and you just want to hear what I think about it. Also going to try and incorporate my rating of it a lot more and try to give a more quicker paced, fun perspective on why, this film or that film. So, anyways, guys, hope you all enjoy this, but let's get into reviewing the classics episode on the Aristocats.
Which pet's address is the finest in Paris? Which pet's
Hey everyone, my name is Prism, and welcome back to the Media Spotlight. Today, everyone, I've got another Disney animated feature to talk about. Today, we're going to be diving into the 1970s, going into the Bronze Age of Disney animation, starting with one of their first and finest features. Should I say felinest features? I'm sorry for the cat pun. But today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at 1970s The Aristocats. And I think before I go into The Aristocats, I kind of want to give a little bit of history on this era at Disney Animation. We concluded the Jungle Book video by detailing that Walt Disney had passed away. It was mentioned in that episode, and it is true. In 1966, Walt Disney passed away to lung cancer in December of that year. And the Jungle Book was wrapped up and finished the following year, but then it was up to the Disney animators to continue his legacy. It was up to the Disney animators to try and find ways to financially recoup their losses and continue the company that Walt had built. It was no longer Walt Disney and his animation studio, it was Walt Disney's animators, the animators he hired and the newcomers, trying to prolong the life of his animation studio. And this era is often titled the Dark Age because a lot of the films made in this era are just cheaper and they're darker and honestly aren't that great. But I, like some, would actually call this the Bronze Age because I don't really think that any of the films in this era of Walt Disney Animation are terrible. There's one or two in here that I definitely will have my opinions on, but I think that all of them still have some level of fun Disney energy to them. I will also say that this era definitely has more of a focus on animals and going away from the princess fairy tale formula of earlier Disney. I don't really know why they did that, but it comes back to be a reminder and an awakening of what the company was missing for so long. I really think that Disney Animation produced some not time-forgotten films that would just exist through time and generations. There's a lot of films I'm going to bring up in this next coming video series that I really like from this age of Disney animation. But for now, let's talk about the Aristocats. So I think it would be fun to start with a little bit of my history on this film. And when it comes to the Aristocats, you can tell this copy has gotten quite a bit of love. I've actually recently put in a purchase order for a new copy, but I love the Aristocats. I don't think it was a film I watched all the time as a kid, but definitely something happened to it because the disc and the case are not in great shape at all. But, putting that aside, on my rewatch, I genuinely enjoyed the Aristocats. Its story is really simplistic, but I think it's a really wholesome, fun tale. It's about these three cats, or rather Duchess and her three kittens, and how they just live with this widow who loves them dearly. She's even willing to give her will to them when she passes away, not her butler, her cats. The butler gets jealous and ends up, instead, trying to get the cats killed, sending them away in order that he will get the will instead, and his plans get foiled when the cats come back, which is thanks to Thomas O'Malley and his O'Malley Cats, a rib-tickling group of cats that live on the streets that just love to jazz and sing songs. It's a pretty fun group. And honestly, I think that's the best part about the Aristocats. It doesn't really ask too much of you, and it doesn't really ask too much of its characters. You have Duchess and her kittens. Very simple. They just want to get home. You have Thomas O'Malley. He's kind of the type that is a little bit more on the crasser side of things, a little bit more on the just kind of punk. But then he's got a soft heart for Duchess. He wants to actually help her get home. And then, of course, you have Edgar, which is just the greedy butler who catnaps them. And then the mouse, and then all these other little characters. Really, you easily understand every character that you need to know about. You know the relationships very quickly, and it allows you to just have a fun adventure. And there was something this film did that I really enjoyed, and this is something to really appreciate because I don't think it would have been done nowadays. So, in the film, there's a scene where Duchess and Thomas O'Malley come into contact with these two geese. These geese basically are heading back to Paris, which is where Duchess is wanting to go to get back to her mistress, and so they all travel together. And then these two geese find their Uncle Boris, who has been laminated in beer, and they decide to take him home, and that's the last you see of them. That's the last you see of the geese until the end of the film. So they're basically in two scenes, and they don't outstay their welcome. They're fun characters, and when the film knows that it needs to get back to the heart and soul of the picture, the Aristocats, it does that. Even when you go on to the scene of Everyone Wants to Be a Cat, it stops and has slower moments in it. And then when it concludes, we have a really nice small moment with Duchess and Thomas O'Malley talking about how they'd really love to be together, but they can't because of having to get home to their mistress. It's a really cute scene, and it's a really slow scene. You can definitely say that a lot of these films were more boring, that were developed during the Bronze Age of Disney animation, but I think that the moments in this film really help you sympathize with the characters and understand everything. I didn't really feel like there was a moment I wish wasn't in this movie. If I had anything to nitpick, I think there's maybe one or two moments where it looks like things get decolorized. What I mean by that is it just looks like the color changes or the character model changes, but it's actually a known fact that the Aristocats did have a lot of changes. The film was made in 1970, but it had actually been in development for a while, and budget had been a huge concern. So one of the things with that, for example, was giving all the cats different designs. So this is actually some concept art of Thomas O'Malley with some stripes on him. Now, I don't think that Thomas O'Malley's design, is... Well, actually, I have to say, it's kind of terrible. It's basically the little orange kitten, but a darker shade. That's basically Thomas O'Malley, and that's basically all the cats. But you can see that in the original version of this film, with a higher budget, they wanted to do these cats with more creative designs. They wanted to do these cats that were more easy to tell apart. Because, frankly, you can't really tell that they're different cats. I mean, all the kittens, what makes them different is their colors. You have the orange one, the white one, and the black one. There's no big, visual signs like, a stripe here, a spot there. They're just basically flat templates. But I think it works. I almost think it kind of works for the picture. It doesn't make them look overly fancy or detailed. I do definitely think that adding some detail would have been helpful. But overall, with the Aristocats as a finished product, I think it's a really fun Disney film. I don't think there's a lot to really study from it. I don't think it's one of these great classics that people have forgotten. I genuinely think a lot of people enjoy the Aristocats or they don't, and that's fine. It isn't like, say, Pocahontas or The Little Mermaid that has a lot more to be discussed. It's just a simple little cat movie in France. Kind of similar to another cat movie that I'll be talking about shortly. But that is it for my thoughts on the Aristocats. Overall, I think I'd give this film probably a 9.5 out of 10. There were some little animation errors that bugged me and little things like that, but overall, I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye everyone, have a great day!
Which pet's address is the finest in Paris?